girl Tara, come to you from thecraftsurgeon.com. Thanks for joining me today for another video tutorial. So today I have a really fun and special project for you guys. This project was actually created for the Glitter and Glam Girls blog hop that I'm a part of. So every month for the next few months or so, me and a couple of my demo friends are getting together and we are creating cards for a blog hop. So if you would like to see more information pertaining to this project, and not only that, if you want to follow the trail of the blog hop, I'll have all that information with the link down below in the description box. And don't forget to share love when you guys head over, not just to my site, but to my friend demos sites as well, okay? But today I am going to share with you guys how I created this really awesome card. It's a lot of fun, and it, like I said, is masculine. And we know that Father's Day is right around the corner. I know we have Mother's Day coming up really fast, and then the next is Father's Day. So what a great way to celebrate the men in your life with a great masculine card. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share with you how we're going to create this card and what you're going to need to create it. Alright, so the first thing I use on this card is the Bubble Over stamp set, and it is a lot of fun. Let me tell you, there's so many great images in here that are fun. You can dress up these cute little bottles when you stamp them down. There's like this really fun bubble background that you can use. There's little tags that you can stamp down. There's 4 different sentiments that you can use to dress up your cards. And then I'm also using the coordinating bottles and bubbles framelit dies. And here are the 2 bottles that, and I have a couple of more. They're sitting on my big shot of dies. But I love these dies. Like, look how awesome they are. And there's duplicates of everything. So that way you don't have to run one die through continuously. I love the straws. Aren't they cute? And they even have the ribbed, there's like a ribbed texture here where you bend the straw. Oh, so cute. And then there's like these cute like little labels. There's some bottle caps. There's some bubbles that you can pop out and pop them up. Probably should have done that with these. Pop them up off the card. That would have been fun. But this is all in all a really great set. Really fun. Great for masculine cards. And I would highly encourage you to purchase it. Especially now. So if you haven't already heard, our current catalog is actually retiring. So this stamp set is actually on the retiring list along with the dies. So when our new catalog launches on June 4th, these dies and the stamp set will no longer be available for purchase. So if this is something that's been on your wish list, or after seeing today's project, you want to create the same project, or you have some ideas of projects that you can possibly create with this and you want it, I'll have all of the links down in the description box below for all of the products that I used today. But make sure that you head over there and you purchase it if this is something that's on your list of things to get, because once it's gone, it's gone. But like I said, it's a really fun stamp set to create with, and we created a really awesome card, and I've created so many different projects with this thing. So all right, so for cardstock, we are going to use the following items. I have a piece of crumb cake cardstock. This measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and it's scored at 4 1/4. So this is my standard A2 size card. I'm using a piece of early espresso. This measures 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches. I have a piece of watercolor paper that measures 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and I'm using watercolor paper for this card because it works best when I show you the technique called smushing, which is how I got this really cool, awesome like watercolor burst of color in the back of the for the background. You're going to need a piece of Whisper white cardstock. This is just a random measurement, and this is what I'm going to use to die cut my bottles and my labels out. And then I have a piece of silver foil. This is for our bottle caps. I don't know if you guys can tell on the card, but they're shiny, the tops of them. And then I have a piece of clear acetate. There's no specific measurement to this, but this is the piece that I use when I do the technique called smushing, and I'm going to show you guys all about that in a minute. For inks, I use Early Espresso ink along with 2 of my Stampin' Right markers. Now, our Stampin' Right markers actually come in collections. You can't buy them individually. And the particular colors that I'm using is the Bermuda Bay, which comes from the Brights collection of Stampin' Right markers. And then I'm using the Pineapple Punch, which is one of our new in colors from one of our new in color collections. I'm also using our spritzer, our Stampin' Up! Spritzer. It has just water in it. I have my aqua painter on the side too. And then I'm using a sponge. They come in a pack of 3, but what I do is I cut all of my sponges in 4s and I create like little triangles like this, and I attach the color that I'm sponging in, a piece of that cardstock, and I staple it to the sponge so that way I'm not mixing and matching colors. So this is my early espresso sponge. I'm going to show you guys how I ended up getting this effect with sponging for the bottles. I'm also going to be using the 3/4 inch punch. And for adhesive, I'm using my Tombow liquid multi-purpose glue and some dimensionals. And I think that's about it. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get into creating our card. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to smush. Funny term, but smush. So this is a timeless classic technique. I cannot take credit for inventing it because it's been around for probably forever, since crafting started. But smushing is basically a way that you can create really fun watercolor type backgrounds. So with that, what I found to work the best is using watercolor paper. I did try this technique on our regular Whisper White or thick Whisper White. Shimmer paper works pretty good, but when you use regular cardstock or regular paper, it doesn't seem to do the best. So watercolor is where it's at, or watercolor paper is where it's at for this technique. So you're going to take that, and you're going to also need a piece of clear acetate or plastic, whatever you have. You'll take a spritzer that has water or a spray bottle that has water. And then what I'm going to use on this particular card is my Stampin' Right markers, because it's just easier. You can use your ink refills if you have them, but Stampin' Right markers I have found do the best when it comes to smushing. That's my personal opinion. So just let's look at our Stampin' Right markers real quick. So our Stampin' Right markers are dual tipped. There's one side that is a fine tip, is 0.5 millimeters, and then we have a brush tip. So these markers are great for writing, coloring, calligraphy. They're also great. One thing that I love about Stampin' Right markers is that they also can double up as the inks for your stamps. So if, like, let's say, for example, I wanted to color the top part of my sentiment in Bermuda Bay and the bottom part of my sentiment in Pineapple Punch, I can do that really easily with my Stampin' Right markers with the brush tip. So you can color on our stamps and stamp it that way, which is really another cool, fun technique. But for today's video, I know I'm kind of getting all like off topic a little bit, but these markers are really versatile, and you can use them for so many different things, which is why they're great. Like I mentioned earlier, you can't buy them individually, unfortunately. You do have to buy them in collections, but I feel like the collections are great because you can do things like smushing, and you can mix and match, and you have a wide range of colors to work with on your projects. So how does smushing work? All you're going to do is, I'm going to first start off with my Pineapple Punch. I'm going to take the brush tip in, and I'm going to color onto my piece of acetate like that. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' Spritzer, and make sure you have a paper towel or something laid down, so that way, because I'm messy. I don't know about y'all, but I'm messy. I tend to make a mess with stuff like this. But it's great to protect your work surface. And then you're going to take your spritzer, and you're going to do a couple of sprays onto the piece of acetate. You're going to take your watercolor paper, and you're going to flip your piece of acetate over, and then you're just going to smush it against the paper. Now, the cool thing about the smushing technique is that you have a little more control over where your ink goes. But you see how awesome that is? You can just smooth it around and put the color where you want it, which is a lot of fun. And so you're going to do that with both colors. So I'm going to try this in Bermuda Bay now. The more water you have, sprayed onto your piece of acetate, the more diluted your color is going to be. The less water you have, the more, or excuse me, the less water you have, the more bold your image is going to be. And then you can even use your paper towel to pat it out. So one thing I like to do is I kind of like to layer the color on. So as you can see, I have like a little bit of green. It's mixing colors. But I do want a little more of this Bermuda Bay to show. So I'm not going to put as much water on it. Just one squirt. There we go. All right, and that is how I got my background. So we're going to sit this over to the side and let it dry, and then I'm going to show you our next technique. All right, so the next technique that I'm going to show you guys how to do is how I got the effect of these bottles to go from light to dark. And this is by using my sponge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my early espresso ink, and then I'm going to take my sponge, and then I am going to just sponge onto my bottles. Now, one thing I do like to do is I like to build the color. So what I have found is if you saturate your sponge and then you stick it straight on your project, sometimes you get these horrible lines that you can't really buff out. So what I like to do is I kind of like to start off of the paper first. You see those like lines? That's what I was talking about. I want my image to look very smooth and blended. So I kind of start off by taking some of the ink off, and then I go in circular motions. And as I'm going in circular motions, I build that color onto my die cut image. And I basically cut this out with the two different sizes of the bottles that come in our die, in the die set. And so I'm starting at the bottom, making sure that it's more dark at the bottom, because that's where I want it more concentrated. And then I just ease up as I get to the top of the bottle because I want it a lot lighter. See that? And there we go. So that's the first one. And you want to make sure that you have some sort of paper underneath your work surface as you're doing this too, so that way you don't ruin your work surface. So there we go. So that's how I got that effect. And then I'm going to take my aqua painter and I'm going to, I don't know if you guys see that or not, but I do have some like little water spots on there. And so I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of this water, and then I'm going to tap my aqua painter a couple of times to kind of get those water spots on there, just like that, to make it look like it's bubbling on the inside of the bottle. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and finish up our stamping. So the first thing I'm going to stamp is our sentiment. And so I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto our main watercolor piece here. And since that is a clear stamp, I'm going to need my foam mat. All right, so we're gonna stamp this little guy right at the bottom, just like that. And then we're gonna take our bubbles and we're gonna stamp those kind of like in the middle. Our bottles are gonna go right about here. And so I'm going to stamp my bubbles like right in the center, just like that. Okay, so set that to the side. And then I'm going to take my scrap piece of Whisper White that I cut all of my bottles out with. And then I'm going to just stamp this little circle star right there twice. And we're going to actually pop that up. with some dimensionals. But first we're gonna punch this little guy out just like this. I'm gonna punch this little guy out just like that. And now we are going to piece together our card. All right, so we're gonna take our card base, we're gonna crease it with our bone folder. We're going to take our tombow, we're gonna glue our piece of early espresso down to the back round of the card base. So this is gonna be our first layer over the mat. Then we're going to take our piece of watercolor paper and we're going to use some of our tombow to do the same. Glue this bad boy right on down here, just like that. Okay. And then we are going to take our bottles. So I'm going to take the first big bottle. And we're gonna take our dimensionals. So I'm gonna take about 3 of these little guys. And we're gonna pop the first bottle up. On here just like that. All right, and then we're gonna take our little pieces that we die cut earlier. So I'm using the little, oop, nope, that's the wrong size. There are 2 different sizes, by the way, just so you're aware, for the labels. 2 different size labels. So one's for the big bottle, and then there's one for the smaller bottle. Look at right there too, and we're gonna pop this little one up with dimensionals, and then we're gonna take another dimensional and we're gonna pop our little circles up. Like this, and we're gonna attach that down. I love dimensionals, just like that. And then in your die set, you will notice that there are 4 bottle caps, and just so you're aware, there are 2 different sizes. So there's one for the big bottle and one for the small bottle. So make sure that when you're cutting them out, you have the right sizes. And so we're gonna punch these little guys out of the die with either paper snips or whatever pointy tool you have. And then we're gonna glue the bottle tops right on top of the bottle. I gotta make sure I do the right one. This is the smaller one, just like that. And then we have this one. All right, so there you go. 2 really cute masculine cards. Isn't that awesome? So nice. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up. You can find all the information pertaining to all of the products that I used today down below in the description box. Also, you'll find a link there that'll take you straight to my website, to the coordinating blog post. And like I said earlier, don't forget to show my demo friends some love too by following the Blog Hot Trail. Also, in order to stay up to date on all things Stampin' Up! And to receive notifications of all of my uploaded videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Show some love, guys. And don't forget to hit that little notification bell on the side too, so that way you're notified of all of my recent uploads. But other than that, that's all I got for you guys for now. So see you next time. Thanks for watching and happy stamping.